Hi everyone. Alright, I'm going to be going over this video that I made for you, just explaining things a little bit better than I did previously. So this video is going to be redone. So we have Mother Base is obviously under attack. We have Snake, Big Boss, coming back to the base with Chico, Paz, and the medic inside the helicopter. Now, what I find suspicious is watch all these charges go off on this platform. See all those C4 charges going off? That takes some time. So that makes me think that this was planned by Big Boss, whatever's going on here. There's a lot of C4 to be planted on all these struts. That takes some time. There's not really that much time between when Skullface leaves Camp Omega to when Snake returns to Mother Base. So there really wasn't that much time for them to plan all this C4. I mean, at the end of this clip, we even see the main tower going down, and that thing's going off like it was completely packed full of C4, like a controlled demolition. So that would take time for someone to plant that on there. Now, in this scene, you're going to see a few guys get on. There's one guy getting on right now on the helicopter. Okay, so one guy already got on. And we're going to have two guys die right now, and the Mosquito's going to go ahead and hop on the helicopter. So Mosquito got on right there, and he's in. But there was another soldier that snuck on in there. So that's a possibility that something could be going on with that. That could be something that Kojima's trying to trick us with. Now this hand grab is kind of important just because it happens again in Mission 31 after you defeat Sahelanthropus. But look at everything that happened on Mother Base. It's completely destroyed. That took some time. That's not just someone dropping a bomb on the place. These are controlled charges. You can see the charges going off at different points. Okay. And you notice Big Boss isn't yelling or freaking out. Kaz in this scene is freaking out. He even wakes up quiet and calls her a bitch, tells her to give answers. But Big Boss he's like kind of just whatever. This is what happened, and he's not screaming or yelling or flipping out the way Kaz is about Mother Base being destroyed. Alright, now the next scene in the hospital is kind of important. We see that nurse there in the back left with the dark hair. She's going to appear 9 years from now, this lady right here. Also, there is a nurse with glasses on and blonde hair. She's going to walk off screen in a second. I believe she sedates Venom, which is really awkward in this scene that there's no doctors working on Venom, even though he's the one that took all the damage. He took all the shrapnel and blocked most of it from Big Boss. Yet Big Boss is the one that's going into a coma here, and there's no doctors working on Venom. Then in a second, they're going to pronounce that Big Boss is in a coma, and Kaz is going to ask about Venom and how he's doing. He doesn't even ask about Big Boss's coma or freak out about that. So there's the blonde nurse with glasses going off camera. And shortly after that is when Venom's going to pass out. So there's Kaz asking about Venom instead of Big Boss. And this is, I believe, where the brainwashing or hypnosis actually starts. I believe they sedate Venom around here. And then PT is kind of a way of showing his nightmare or his trauma that he's had to deal with Now, it's been said that Lisa here from PT resembles that dark-haired nurse in the hospital, just with a distorted face and a different outfit. Um, some have even said that she's wearing a hospital gown. I've looked at the two faces and they don't look identical. It's kind of hard to say for sure. Now, this scene here is the trailer for PT, but really this has to do with Metal Gear, and that's why we're going to see this ball open the door here, and we're going to see Chico with his head detached and parasites crawling out his mouth. He's going to pick up his head in just a second here. Alright, and then we're going to see insects coming out of the walls. Now, this next scene, once you see this monster, it's pretty important. They're going to show a monster sucking on Chico's head. And I believe that monster is to signify how Big Boss uses Chico and uses people, or at least to show that people are affected by Big Boss, kind of sucking the life out of him. And the reason I think this monster is Big Boss or Venom is because it crawls just like Venom does in the hospital. Now, if you watch the hallways right here, on the right and left, there's bloody handprints that are chasing you down this hallway. And I believe that's to show all the people that have died by Big Boss's hand. Now the camera's going to cut back to the monster, and then also show you a little clip of Venom crawling in the same fashion. There we go. And now as he descends the stairs, it's kind of like this is him walking out of PT. Can't say for sure whether or not that's Venom or Big Boss's nightmare, or if Kojima even went that much into detail on it, but it definitely is related to Metal Gear in at least one small way. Now we have Venom waking up here in the hospital. This is a kind of slow scene. If you want to skip it, you can. There's not very much important going on from here until the end of the video. Just me kind of going over each scene and why I chose these scenes. This is pretty much just me breaking down the game and showing you all the stuff that's happened to Venom since he's woken up from his coma. So, again, you're going to see this nurse with the dark hair that we just saw in the hospital 9 years ago. She's still present. She doesn't look like she's aged a lot, if at all. Now, in the hospital, we have those flower petals that drop every now and then. That's a sign of the boss. It's a sign of peace. I don't know exactly why they were placed in here. If it was just to show that... I think it's just to show that these nurses know who these people are that they're taking care of. So that's why they're giving Big Boss... if that is Big Boss in the other bed. That's why they're giving him those types of flowers, because they know that's him and that's kind of what he likes. It's to symbolize him. So here's the nurse with dark hair. She's still around. And now that I think about it, I think you hear this redheaded or blonde-haired nurse talk, and she doesn't sound like the woman that makes the phone call that says V has come too. So it makes me think that that dark-haired nurse may have been the one that notified Cypher that Venom was awake, so that they could send Zoff to attack the hospital. Also, I chose these songs by Low Roar because Kojima tweeted them. He tweeted them on 9/11 in 2014. He recommended this album, and then just recently he ended up using the track "I'll Keep Coming" by Low Roar in his trailer for Death Stranding. So I think these songs may be important to Metal Gear at least a little bit. I think that Kojima might have influenced this soundtrack a little bit. There are a lot of lyrics on this album that relate to this game. And it's not just a few things here and there. The whole album has different themes and different tracks that definitely seem to be talking about the story that's going on inside Metal Gear. And that's why I used them to help kind of narrate this video. Also, I didn't put my voice on the first video because I wanted you guys to pay attention to just all the emotions going through Venom's face. When Kojima hired Kiefer Sutherland over David Hayter, he said it was because Kiefer could display a range of emotions that David Hayter could not. And that range of emotions that Kojima's talking about, they're not vocal. It's his face that they're using the emotions from. Since Kiefer is an actor, that's what they wanted him for. David Hayter isn't an actor, so he might not have displayed all those facial expressions properly. That's why Kojima decided to go with Kiefer Sutherland. That's why Kiefer doesn't really talk too much in the game, and when he does talk, he's not telling you, I'm depressed, this makes me super angry, this makes me not trust the people I'm around. You have to kind of come to that conclusion on your own. You got to remember, we are all supposed to be Venom, so the way you end up feeling during this game is also how Venom feels. So when you feel betrayed, know that Venom feels betrayed. When you feel scared and confused, know that Venom is feeling that too. He's supposed to be each one of us. And this is just, like I said, I'm just showing you what's happened throughout the game to affect Venom, to make him eventually want to take revenge against Big Boss. All the things that happen in the Phantom Pain, Venom didn't have to necessarily go through. It could have been a completely different character that went through him, but Big Boss chose to use him as the decoy. So all this stuff ends up affecting Venom as time goes on. He thinks he's Big Boss. He has to go save Kaz. Kaz is missing an arm. Mother Base has been destroyed. He's going to have to build it all up again. Now, I thought it was kind of funny that they show you Diamond Dogs, and they push that on you so much because they allow you to change your PF name. And you can actually change your PF name to the names of the bosses from the original Metal Gear game on the MSX. So I just thought it was a little weird that, I mean, you'll still have those Diamond Dogs logos everywhere, but they allow you to change those PF names. I don't really think those PF names were too important, but they do drop a little hint in there by letting you know that those Metal Gear 1 boss names are available for your PF. Kojima hasn't really mentioned too much about the first two Metal Gear games since he's been working on the Phantom Pain or Ground Zeroes. He's kind of made it seem like the story didn't start until Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation. And I think the reason he's not discussing Metal Gear 1 and 2 is because he doesn't want those inside people's heads, really. He doesn't want people to see what's coming next. I mean, he does. He's dropping us all kinds of clues, but he doesn't want too many hints at what's coming out next. He kind of wants you to have to interpret it yourself. Now, this is just Venom's introduction into Mother Base. Just showing all the different things that he's had to deal with since he's arrived on Mother Base. He's got Skullface. He's got whether or not he should kill Quiet. Then when he decides not to kill Quiet, she ends up saving his life, sniping this pilot in this jet. And that kind of convinces Venom, hey, I can use her. She's alright. She's on my side. At least as far as he knows for now, he can kind of bring her on board. If she ends up being a problem, you know Big Boss will take care of it. Now, you think that Snake's going to trust these people? They're pointing guns at him. If he was the real Big Boss, they shouldn't be raising arms to him as he returns to the base. They should fully trust Big Boss, but they don't. Here we have Venom coming in to the hangar to find the AI pod and Huey. Even the AI pod suspects that this is not the real Big Boss. And Huey does too when he sees him. He doesn't immediately know this is Snake. It kind of takes him a second to realize Snake. And I don't know if that's because he looks different or because Huey just hasn't seen him in 9 years and can't believe that he's alive. Now here's Huey getting injected with truth serum. We know that the truth serum doesn't affect Huey because he's already telling the truth. Here's Skullface torturing some people. Now, I think all the stuff that happens around Mother Base like the viral outbreaks and stuff, I think that can all be blamed on actually Ocelot, because Ocelot is always the person in the background of these Metal Gear games controlling everything, and he always seems like he is not. He's also cool as a cucumber this whole game. There's never a part where he's freaking out about all these men dying the way that Kaz is, or the Big Boss, or Huey is. Ocelot seems to be totally cool while all this stuff's going on. Sure, he may tell you that, you know, something needs to be done, but he's never freaking out the way everyone else is on base. And here's me just showing some more stuff that's going on the base. You know, problems with Quiet. No one knows why she's trying to cut this dude's tongue out. Problems with Eli. This scene here with Skullface, this Fight Club-esque cutscene is important because this speech that he gives to you, it still rings true after the game finishes. This pain never really goes away, and it does make Venom hideous inside and out, as we see in that final cutscene where he turns into a demon. And the reason that's important is because Venom never really gets to kill Skullface the way he wants to. He wanted Skullface to either sit there and bleed out and suffer, or to at least have to muster up enough strength to kill himself with the rifle that was left behind. But he doesn't get that. What happens instead is Huey kind of gives him a mercy kill and walks over and kills him pretty quickly. And Venom is upset by this. It shows in his facial expressions. Like I said, that's what Kojima paid for. He wasn't paying Kiefer Sutherland to just be another Big Boss or Solid Snake type character. He was paying him for those facial expressions that David Hayter could not do. Because Kiefer does not talk a lot during this game, so that's how we know that it's mostly about those facial expressions. That's why Kojima was willing to kind of disappoint fans by not using Hayter. It was necessary. Now here's Huey shouting out revenge, and here's Big Boss. You can see it in his face. Look how long he's staring. He's not cool with what just happened. It kind of pissed him off to see that Skullface was just put to death. Now, I use this song, it's a little bit lighter, because things were kind of good for a second on Mother Base. We just killed Skullface. Skullface is now dead. We don't have to worry about him. The parasites should technically be gone, and we have Sahelanthropus. So it's a little bit of rest at base, but that doesn't last long. Once Shining Light starts, that's when Venom is hit the hardest. He has to kill all his men at point blank range. He's shooting them all in the face. They're saluting him. They're telling him You know, it's okay, they love him, they trust him, it's okay, they know why they're dying, they're infected, they can't go outside. Some of them even beg not to be killed, but he still has to kill them. And he thinks he got one guy out alive, and even that's taken from him. And not only does he have to kill all these people, but he knows that the people outside, they're going to hold this against Venom. Even though he was actually doing the right thing by killing all these people and stopping the virus. And this scene's important because Kojima was even willing to change this cutscene because it was important. He didn't want us to know that this was going to happen on Mother Base. He wanted us to think that Big Boss was freaking out in Africa. And if you watch this scene here, you can even catch Big Boss's knees buckling before he drops. It's right here. If you watch, he just pumps right there and pumps again. Those are his knees buckling, and he's about to drop to his knees because this is really hard on him. This was the main part. I mean, besides the hospital, this was the main thing in the game that was supposed to really depress everyone and make everyone feel like, oh my god, I'm killing my own men and I have no choice in it. And that's why they show, as you're killing these people, it shows the staff number going down as you shoot everyone on Mother Base. It's to really affect the player so that you feel what Venom is feeling in this point of the game. He's really upset. It's not just anger, it's sadness. He had to kill these people. They would give anything. They respect him so much, and he had to go and kill all these people. And the people outside are still gonna blame him. And then as he, you know, whether it's immediately after or the day after, he comes into this room and looks in the mirror and finds out the truth from the real Big Boss. That he is actually Venom. He's not Big Boss. He was used as a decoy so that Big Boss could escape, and that he was all part of Big Boss's plan. And that's why Big Boss kind of expects him to go with the rest of his plan, which would be the beginning of Metal Gear 1, Operation N313. And Venom isn't going to go with that plan. And by the end of this game, you see a cutscene. It's basically just dialogue between Kaz and Ocelot. And Kaz says, no, screw Big Boss. I'm going to support Venom and use him against Big Boss. And eventually I'll support one of his sons and use him against Big Boss. So, we have Venom extremely angry, wanting revenge. Obviously, Big Boss is really the one to blame. I mean, Cypher and Skullface, that stuff wouldn't have happened to Venom if he had not been put in this situation, and that was because of Big Boss. So, Venom's upset and wants his revenge, and he's going to use it against Big Boss. And Kaz is backing him up, so this is the most likely thing that's going to come next is Metal Gear 1 and Skullface finding Venom finding some way to come back and get revenge on Big Boss. And I use this Skullface speech here because it's important. He's telling you how bad that hatred is and how it eats you up inside. And that's why I'm showing you here Big Boss riding off into the sunset without a care in the world. That should affect you. He's not worried about all this horrible stuff that's happening to Venom. He's just going to ride off into the sunset and do his own thing. He leaves you behind to suffer and let all that hatred build up inside you. And even after Skullface is dead, it's still there. Now, this scene here is Mosquito. This scene is important. It only happens if you capture Mosquito and don't kill him. And you've been told to kill him. So you have to go and capture him. You can interrogate him on the base. He says some pretty cool stuff. But if you do capture him, this cutscene plays at the end of the mission where he basically tells you that the reason he did everything on Mother Base, on the new Mother Base, is because Big Boss sold out his men 9 years ago. That's why he wasn't on the base that day. That's why all this horrible stuff happened to Mother Base. And it affected Mosquito as well. He suffers from PTSD. That's why he decides to come back and do this. And Kaz tells you, no, Mosquito was misinformed. He was a victim of disinformation. But really, Mosquito knew the truth. It was Kaz that doesn't know the truth until this scene here, where he has this dialogue with Ocelot, and Ocelot actually tells him, no, that's not the real Big Boss. That's a decoy, and we used him, and the real Big Boss is somewhere else building up his new army without you, Kaz, and that pisses Kaz off. And that's what gets Kaz to turn and say, you know what, screw this, dude. He had no problem lying to me all this time. Obviously, he didn't care enough about Old Mother Base to want to do something about it. He just hired this other guy to fill his shoes. So that pisses Kaz off, and it makes him a turncoat. He decides that he wants to go against Big Boss and just back up Venom or one of his sons. And while we have already seen Eli could kind of look like a young Norman Reedus. They both have those almond-shaped eyes. And I believe that Norman Reedus is Solid Snake. And Kojima showing him here in the PT ending, it wasn't really for Silent Hills. That was just to throw us off. The reason he's showing Reedus at that point is to kind of let us know where he's at in development of the next 2 Metal Gear games. Reedus with short hair is reminiscent of Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid. I'm sorry, not Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear 1. Reedus with long hair is hinting at Metal Gear 2, where Solid Snake actually has longer hair in the same fashion. And the reason Kojima is telling us, it's Death Stranding, it's Silent Hills, those aren't important. They're never intended to be real games. He's just fucking with us. He's rubbing it in our faces, because one day when he does reveal that, surprise, Solid Snake is Reedus, he's being played by Norman Reedus, he wants everyone to be like, oh man, he was showing us this whole time and we had no idea. That's part of his little ruse. So that's why he's doing it. So don't take too much out of that PT ending cutscene, and don't take too much from what's going on in the Death Stranding trailer. Sure, there may be some hints here and there in those trailers that are important, but it's really hard to decipher what those are. The important thing is he's focusing on Norman Reedus' character, and I think by looking at the different facial expressions between the Phantom Pain with Venom and the facial expressions used in the PT ending trailer by Norman Reedus and in the Death Stranding trailer by Norman Reedus, they all appear to be using the Fox engine, because there's not very many engines out there that can display that much facial detail and really convey those emotions to the people playing the game. Not since L.A. Noire have I seen something that detailed be used, and that's what makes me think this is obviously all running on Fox engine, because what other engine can they just pull out of their ass that quick that could do all that highly detailed facial expressions? Now here I'm just showing you little clips from a canceled remake of the original Metal Gear that got pulled a few years ago by Konami. They signed off on it, and then eventually they pulled it, and I think the reason is because they decided, hey, you know what? Gauging by this fan remake, we know that fans want this game. But we can't just leave it the way it used to be. The way it used to be was, we just assumed Big Boss died in the first Metal Gear game, and then for some random reason he's back in Metal Gear 2. But Kojima needed to make the Phantom Pain to kind of bridge that story and set it up properly, so that people in all these new players to the series would understand. It wouldn't just be some random thing that's not explained, Big Boss is still alive for the next game. No, it has a story to it now. Now we know that it was actually Venom that takes place in Metal Gear 1, and the reason it's Venom is because Venom wanted to be used for that mission. Big Boss expected to use him for Operation N313. So we now know that since it's Venom, that Kojima intentionally did that. He needed to tell this story. Otherwise, the first 2 Metal Gear games wouldn't really make sense in today's world. People would kind of think that was a stupid thing to do. If Kojima today was to let you think that it's actually Big Boss in the first Metal Gear game, and then kill him and then next thing you know, he's back in the next Metal Gear game, you're probably going to be a little upset and confused. That's why he had to tell the Phantom Pain. That's why he also didn't spend as much time working on the detail and the little things here and there in the Phantom Pain. The Phantom Pain is highly detailed, but there's little things here and there that make a Metal Gear game that are missing from the Phantom Pain. And I don't think it's because Kojima went over budget and couldn't afford it, or that it's because Kojima ran out of time. No, the Phantom Pain wasn't really the bread and butter of this story. He really wasn't working on the Phantom Pain. It was just a necessary story he had to tell in order for people to be set up perfectly for the next two Metal Gear games. Think about it. There's never been a better time to remake the first two Metal Gear games. I mean, if Kojima truly left Konami, then if it was up to Konami to make the next Metal Gear game, do you think they're going to wait 10 years to do it? To remake Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2? It wouldn't make as much sense to do that 10 years down the road. It won't be as profitable. Right now, everyone that's invested in this franchise wants to know what's coming next after the Phantom Pain. And that is what comes next after the Phantom Pain. Operation Intrude N313. Metal Gear 1 is what comes next. And Kojima shows that to you at the end of the Truth Mission. He shows you Venom placing the Man Who Sold the World tape into the MSX data machine. And that's to show you it's an MSX. That's the first system that Metal Gear came out on. And then when Venom punches the mirror, if you look at the door in the background, the Diamond Dogs logo changes from Diamond Dogs over to Outer Haven. And the reason is to show you that that is what comes next. Also in the timeline at the end of the game, once you hit close to 1995, that's when it starts to show all this Outer Haven stuff. Really starts around 1984 and builds up until 1995. Now, as far as the Hideo Kojima Konami fallout goes, I don't want to say anything for sure. We just need to kind of wait until the next game is dropped to find out what's going on, how that actually worked out. Either Kojima is still working for Konami, or Sony may have helped him buy the rights to the Metal Gear Solid franchise, but I don't think that's the case. Despite all the news reports that we've gotten that Kojima has left Konami, and the comments from Kojima saying that he left Konami, I think it's all part of the ruse. And the reason I think that is because Konami was more than willing to go along with the ruse during PT. Nobody knew what PT was. No one knew that Konami was related to PT. No one knew that Kojima was related to PT or Norman Reedus until about 2 weeks after it was released on the PlayStation Store and someone actually beat it. That's when it was all revealed. So that shows right there that Konami was willing to go along with the ruse. Same thing when we had the Phantom Pain. Before we knew the Phantom Pain was a Metal Gear game, it was just being sold as the Phantom Pain. They were just showing scenes from the hospital, and they were telling us a studio named Moby Dick had made the game. Again, Konami was going along with the ruse. They never came out and tried telling us, hey guys, no, that's actually our game, don't give this studio credit. No, they were more than willing to accept not getting credit for those games during those times. So that leads me to believe that they would still be willing to go along with this ruse even now during Death Stranding's trailer and leading up to the actual reveal of the next couple of games. Now, I think Kojima may be further in development with these first two Metal Gear games. I don't think he just started making them after the Phantom Pain was released. I think he was making them a while before. And the reason I think that is because we were getting so much of the footage from the Phantom Pain was already there years ago, and it didn't change too much. And I think the reason it didn't change too much is because they kind of already had all of that set up, and they were really gonna be holding us off with the Phantom Pain, confusing us all, while
Most people think that this is the end of the Metal Gear franchise, that Kojima will not be working on it anymore. Well, all those fans would be leaving Kojima alone and wouldn't be bugging him. So Kojima could actually work on remaking the first two Metal Gear games in peace. And I mean, there's no way he could do that if fans knew that that's what was going on. Metal Gear 1 and 2 are the most epic games in the whole series, and they haven't been remade ever. Since the 80s, they've been sitting there on 8 bit. There's never been an update, and those are the most epic stories in the series. They are going to be the exact opposite of the Phantom Pain, and that's also why the Phantom Pain is the way that it is. The Phantom Pain is going to be the exact opposite to the next two Metal Gear games, and it's genius. The reason he did that is because you guys are going to kind of be hit with like a culture shock when these next two Metal Gear games come out. Like Kojima said in his recent interview, he's going to be going back to the basics. And back to the basics is the exact opposite of what we've been getting in Peace Walker and what we were getting in the Phantom Pain. You're not going to be able to call in an airdrop for more ammunition or, different guns to drop to you. No, in the original Metal Gear games, you have to get all that stuff on site. And it's funny, in the Phantom Pain, some of the people's favorite missions are the missions where you have to go in with nothing and pick everything up as you progress through the mission. And that's exactly what the first two Metal Gear games are. That's what all the Metal Gear games were up until Peace Walker came out. So it's going to kind of flash back to Peace Walker. I'm sorry, it's going to flash back to the first Metal Gear games where things were tough, where there were booby traps placed on the floor, where you're not in an open environment and you can just pick your vantage point to take out a whole enemy base. No, we are going to be going from the Phantom Pain where you're outdoors. There's plenty of space for you to do whatever you need. You can call in airstrikes. You can have your buddies with you. You can use robots to roll around the freaking battlefield. To now, the next Metal Gear game, you're indoors. It's interiors. There's going to be traps everywhere. There's going to be UAVs everywhere, surveillance cameras, guard dogs. It's going to basically be what the FOB missions are, except on a larger scale. So yeah, it's going to be the exact opposite of what everyone's gotten used to in the last few games. It's going to be close quarters, indoors. You're going to have to peek around corners. You're going to have to lure enemies out by knocking on walls. You're going to have to watch where you're running on the floor because there may be a trap door that you fall into. There may be lasers or electrified floors in the base that you're running through. Um, there's all kinds of stuff in the original Metal Gear games that is just going to be really hard on people that just came into the series when they started the Phantom Pain or Ground Zeroes. All those little things that you really didn't take the time to appreciate, like calling in an airstrike or calling in your buddy for support, those things aren't going to be present. You're going to have to gather everything on your own throughout the game as you progress through the game, and your health bar isn't going to just be displayed on the screen like in Phantom Pain. It's displayed, it just gets red, and your health regenerates if you go and hide. In the next games, you're not going to have that. You're going to have rations, and if you're out of rations, well, then your health isn't going to go back up. And the only way to increase your health is by defeating a boss, and once you beat the boss, your health bar will increase slightly. So, yeah, that's what you guys are going to have to deal with, and that is what's coming, whether you like it or not, and whether you see it or not. I am sorry if you disagree with me. Only time will tell. But I just want those of you that do believe me, just know that you're gonna have to kind of ignore the stuff that's coming your way from the media. Anything telling you that Death Stranding is a new game, it's, I mean, it is a new game in a sense, but really it's another Metal Gear game. And if you've read 1984, you know that theme in the book, there's a major thing that's going on throughout the story, and that thing is that you can't believe the truth. The truth has been distorted, and anyone that believes the truth and knows the truth and speaks the truth in 1984 is tortured and probably executed. And that's important because that's how Kojima was marketing this game. It's 1984. So you need to pay attention when the media tells you something. You want to have that background in knowledge of 1984 because it applies there. Kojima's telling you not to believe everything you see, not to believe the lies, and that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, give me a like, whatever you want. And if you want more or you want me to elaborate on anything I've gone over in this video, just let me know. Thank you.